Hi, it's Martin from Stefy Bull Promotions TV. Yeah, delighted. We've got I'd like to say the brother of Stefy Bull within the gym, Ray Doyle. I couldn't think of anything else to say, but like the second piece to Stefy, Ray. Everyone knows that you and Stefy have got like a fantastic relationship. You thrive. You bounce off each other, and you just constantly speak to anyone in the gym. Stefy this, Ray this, always high praise. So Ray, thanks for giving some of your time, pal. Just wanted to have a chat with you, really. All the followers are always asking, can we get to speak to Ray? So this is our time. First of all, Ray, what made you get into boxing?
Oh, what made me get into boxing?
Yeah.
I got into boxing when I would have been about 12 or 13. I'm around about that age. I think I was about 12 and then 13 when I had my first contest. My first boxing memories were obviously, my family used to, I'm going back some years now, but I always remember the old VHS tapes, and Tyson had fought, and I remember everybody screaming, Buster Douglas has beat Tyson. And all my family had come round. I'd got uncles and stuff, and they put it on a Sunday, and I watched fight, and I were up jumping about and stuff like that. But the thing, it was Gerald McClellan versus Nigel Benn.
Oh.
And I've got all my family are Irish, and I were over in Ireland, and I watched that fight with an uncle of mine, my uncle John. I remember it, and I went back home from Belfast back over to where I live in Yorkshire, because my mum and dad are from over there. So obviously my childhood was spent back and forth in Ireland and back. And I went to school and I said, "Did you see that fight, Gerald McClellan and Nigel Benn?" And obviously, if you're a boxing fan, you'll know what type of fight that was. And a friend said to me, he said, there's an amateur boxing gym where I live, and the guy lived in Dennerby, and the boxing gym was Tommy Lee BC, and it's been well renowned for over years for producing a hell of a lot of fighters. Stefy boxed there, John Joe Irwin, what a big guy to look up to at the time. When I was a kid, he was a British champion, and what a fighter he were, Commonwealth Games gold medalist. It's funny, I ended up working with John Joe for about 3 or 4 years as well. He does work with like disengaged kids and stuff like that. So you can kind of see, like, over the years, I'm 39 now, and I went there, how close knit that gym is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the Wales were there for a time. Josh Whale, Gwyn Whale, Paul Juros, who obviously is the amateur coach in Stefy's gym, who develops all talent such as Robbie Barrett, Terry Harper, bit of a conveyor belt. Do you know what I mean? We've all come up through that kind of like boxing second family, if you get me.
Yeah.
My boxing journey started there. I think I had about 48 fights. I won about 28, something like that, or a bit of an half and half amateur. And then I drifted away for a bit when I got to about 21, just doing what young lads do and stuff like that. You know what I mean? You're going out partying and all that type thing. And a few years had creeped by, and it all started getting to me, and I were kind of like, what if, do you know what I mean? And I went and seen Stefy. I went back down to see Stefy, and I said, look, I were partying too much, and I basically just went back into gym at time, and I'd have been about, I was in my mid-20s, and I wanted to just train. And Stefy went, what are you messing about? He says, just box, like. So I just went, right. So we in space of like 4 months or something like that from having 5 years partying. I was boxing professional, and I just ended up having 6 pro. So I only had 6 pro bouts.
Was that when Stefy was fighting as well, or was Stefy?
Yeah. So Stefy was fighting himself, and I was boxing alongside him, and obviously like Jamie McDonnell, he come along, and so they were like me, Stefy, Jamie, we were all training together and boxing on the same shows at Doncaster Dome, and obviously Jamie being as talented as he was. The thing with me, Mark, I'll be the first to admit it, mate. Boxing is a brutal sport, mate, and I wouldn't say I had it in me, because obviously I fought plenty of amateur fights and plenty of professional fights, but it's an hard game, mate, and that's selling tickets and stuff like that and everything. And I had 2 daughters come along in quick succession at time, and it just was not working, if you get me, financially and things like that. And I decided, I just went, this is, I'm getting my head punched in here, and I'm probably walking away with nothing. Do you know what I mean? When you break it down over a space of months or whatever, I just weren't good enough, mate. Do you know what I mean? That is the truth of it.
It's amazing you say that, because
but I always knew that I would probably be a better coach, a better trainer than what I would as a fighter, because being a fighter is don't get me wrong, I've got a bit of fight in me. I've always had it in me, whether it be mental battles, whatever. I am a dogged kid, but I always knew I would be better working as a trainer. I've always been like that. I've always, even from a young kid, I remember I'd study videos constantly, custom mortar, do you know what I mean? Things like that. Angelo Dundee, my head is just full in it. And that was from a young age. And I just thought, Alex Ferguson, all these type of people, I were always reading books. I were always wanting to know what the psychology of them, what kept them at the top, what made them tick to the point where they could think. And I try and use all that type of fuel to inspire or drive on or whatever to the boxers that I work with, if you get me.
Mate, you couldn't have, you hit the nail perfectly on the head. There's been many a time when I've been sitting down at home watching the boxing at 1 o'clock in the morning, and then I'll message you and say, what do you think tonight? And I'm not just saying this because you're there, but 9 times out of 10, you give me the result and the outcome, and I'm thinking.
It's somebody messaged me the other day, Ray, and I'm like, I'm not being thingy. It makes me sound like I'm being big-headed or whatever, but I don't want to be like that. But he said Conor McGregor's fighting tonight, and I said, oh yeah, I says I don't really know much about UFC, and I don't, Martin. I know obviously some of the marquee names, your Khabib and things, but I don't follow it like I do boxing or whatever. Yeah. And he says, who do you think's going to win? And I said, the other guy. And he went, why? And I says, because my opinion, and this is my opinion, is McGregor has reached the top of the mountain, if you get me. He's got all the millions. He's got everything that he could. The guy would never have to get out of bed again. And when you reach the top of that mountain, it's very difficult to get out of bed. Or who can tell you what to do? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where it's like, it's the character reading and the psychology of the mindset. Whereas that kid probably wanted to reverse everything what had gone off before. And when I sat and watched it next day, I don't think I was far wrong. And I do feel that the likes like McGregor and things like that, they've hit the thingy. There's only a 0.1% of these elite athletes what can stay at the top, if you get me. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
i.e. your Mayweathers, your Federers, your Ronaldos, to be that great for that
Doyles.
That longer time is. Do you get what I'm saying?
100%, mate. I'll tell you that there's a boxer. Everyone will know him. Heavyweight Andy Ruiz. He went from having absolutely nothing, to winning absolutely everything, and he had that much money. And instead of him, and then he got another massive fight against Joshua, and he just thought, you know what? Do I need to win it?
It's the Buster Douglas syndrome. Buster Douglas syndrome, isn't it? It's exactly the same as Buster Douglas.
That's the thing.
The thingy that it's. There's not. Don't get me wrong. They'll be marked in history forever, more than I could ever do, more than thingy. But if you're talking. You have to, sometimes when you're talking two top level fighters, if you get me, there's sometimes more to it, and reading the characters is one thing that I always do. Body language, mindset, everything. And I do that with my boxers. It sounds weird, but if my boxer is fighting someone, I am stalking the life out of them. Do you know what I mean? Every little thing or whatever. You'd have probably never been able to do this years ago, because there were no such thing as social media and stuff like that. But that's my job, to make sure that the guy that I'm training is successful. So I want to get every tiny percentage that I possibly can. And if
you give us a bit of an insight to who you're training at the moment.
Say that again.
Give us a bit of a introduction to who you're training at the moment.
Gavin McDonnell, Jamie's brother. Things are working behind the scenes now. Looks like he could be getting his European title shot.
Against Gavin?
Yeah. So it looks like we could have a big fight on his hands there. And there's some younger guys coming through. We've got a young guy called Taylor Watkins. He's only had 2 pro, but we've been doing a bit of work with him. Obviously, Connor Kelsall, who, like I was talking to you, I don't know if we were on camera or if we were off camera then, for his age, at 21, out of all the kids that I have worked with, he is definitely has got the wisest boxing brain on his head for his age at that time. I'm so excited for him when everything clears up. I think that he's going to be someone where people are just going to be like, where's he come from? Do you know what I mean? Because the kid is just like, he's so quiet, but he's we're being a flyweight, he'd probably move through it pretty fast. But when he gets going, he will start turning some heads.
He just said, I spoke to him the other day, and I had him down as a super bantamweight, and he went, no. He went, the only reason I was super bantam is because I couldn't get a fight.
Yeah, so boxed the kid a little bit heavy, get a bit of weight away. He's only a flyweight, mate, and he just walks around at that as well. But other than that, I've been studying, and I'll tell you who I've been studying, and it's the closest thing to home. And I'm not just saying it because it's me, who I work with, Stefy. I've been watching what he's been doing with Teddy and Lee lately, and I've been sat there and I'm thinking, I'm looking here and I'm looking there and I'm searching. You know what I mean? I want to be successful as well, but I've got it right on me doorstep in my own gym, if you get me. What Stefy does with fighters, I sit there and watch, and I focus, and I try and take as much knowledge as I can. Don't overcomplicate things. Do you know what I mean? The guy, to me, I mean, on our doorstep, the guy is an unbelievable trainer. And I've been sat and I've been studying, and I've even been staying behind longer as long as I possibly can. Things haven't been easy for me at home and stuff like that. I've 2 daughters, but I've been making sure that I've sat and I've watched and I've been trying to soak it in and soak it up like a sponge. Everything that I can, if I can just take that 1% away to make myself better, it's no fluke. You don't train world champions by fluke. Do you know? If you get me, from debut as well. Do you know what I mean? You see some fighters and they'll go here and there and stuff like that, and it's right on my own doorstep. The guy's an unbelievable trainer, and I sit there and I try and watch, and then I'll add my little bits and stuff like that. So that's pretty much what's been going on at minute. It's just like everybody else. It's hard times with pandemic and stuff like that. But yeah, with Lee Appleyard up against one of the best prospects in Britain, in Dalton Smith, and credit to Lee, because what a fighting man he is. Do you know what I mean? Nobody else wants to fight Dalton Smith. Do you know what I mean? So you've got to take your hat off to him, and don't count Lee out. As good as a prospect as everybody was saying, you'll see a good fight. I've been sat watching them both, Stefy and Lee, working together, and yeah, it looks a good contest. And then obviously Terry's flying high, isn't she?
I was speaking to Connor, I was speaking to Stefy. She's just, I don't know, she's just a breath of fresh air. Like, and the new Terry, the new Terry is what I like. The kind of the social media Terry, where the Michaela Mayer, and she's coming out and she's actually giving it some, and I think she's getting more and more fans for it as well, because she's a nice person, lovely person to speak to. She's got the loveliness about her, but she's also showing the angry side about her as well. And
she's got the brain to adapt to. She's very smart, Terry. When you actually sit and speak to her, she's a very intelligent girl, and I think. You can all have fighters that are tough and strong, but some might not be intelligent. Terry seems to be intelligent enough to get the business side of it as well, and how it all works, and the things that you have to do to propel your career, to get the bigger fights, the bigger audiences, the bigger draw, if you get me. And both of them, Stefy and Terry, seem to be working that well, if you get me, to propel her to forefront boxing, to become a big name. And obviously all this with Mayer and stuff like that, it's just brewing up nicely, isn't it?
Brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
That's how it should be.
That's it, because that kind of got me fascinated. The Terry versus Natasha fight was Stefy and Joe. That was kind of, I don't know, I seen a different side to Stefy. Like, I don't know if Stefy liked that side as well. I think he was getting dragged into, I don't know, he's getting dragged into a slam.
Yeah, you could say that. But the thing about Stefy is he's open to learning. Do you know what I mean? Me and Stefy have sat back and we've had a chat about things like that. And it's like, if you learn from it, and it's like, I'll pick up. It's all experience, if you get me. It's all, even from a trainer's side. Do you know what I mean? You're putting pressure cookers and stuff like that with these big fights. It's all about having the intelligence to take the experience to move on to the next one, and use that experience, what you've gained from that fight or whatever went off, or the build up or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And to say, right, I've had this hand before, but I'm going to play this card different, because if you get me, do you know what I mean? It's all about. Definitely. Well, if we all knew it all, it'd
be boring as well.
Exactly. So you keep trying to learn.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the Jonas fight, nobody can say Terry didn't perform at all. She just she fought the fight that she wanted to fight, and it was an absolute barnstormer. But then you look at the Eva Wallström, the Thanders performance, and like I said to Steffi, it looked at times where Thanders shouldn't have even been in the same ring, and Terry had one hand.
That's where both of them, Steffi and Terry, have used their intelligence. If you get me, like we were just on about, using the intelligence.
That's something.
To progress. So it's like, right, and you could see that was Terry's hardest fight, amateur or pro. Do you know what I mean? She were in there where I know everybody says whatever, and Terry were because they were all rolling with Terry were just steamrolling and whatever else. But Jonas is a very experienced fighter, if you get me. Do you know what I mean? Whereas to try and drag Terry into the dog fight, which it become. But to me, I mean, everybody's got their opinion. I still thought Terry won. Like I've sat and I've watched it back and whatever. But people are thinking,
well, people forget as well the fact that was Natasha Jonas's world title shot. That was she brought absolutely everything, and
that was it. So she were gonna, and it's just all experience, like we've just said. It's experience for Terry, and I think you saw in the next performance that she picked that experience up from that fight. And we were driving home, and I said, Terry were like, oh, whatever, you know what I mean, a bit thing. I says, look, you'll look back on this, and you'll think. In years to come, you'll think, God, I were only a baby. I didn't even know anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's, do you know what I mean? It's wisdom, innit? It comes with time.
Definitely. Her life moves that quick. But the thing is, she's not a different person to win for a win in the title against the Diesel Bell. Was there a name?
She's a very humble girl.
In Doncaster, to what she is now, like you speak to everyone, and they're like, Terry's the same person. She's just a breath of fresh air.
It's funny you said that, like, because they're a little. What were it on? Anyway, it were on one of the social medias, and it were advert, and Terry were on the advert, like as a, I think it one of the Sky Sports adverts, and I sent her a message, and it were like. And she like kind of think, I still can't even believe that that's me on advert. Do you know what I mean? And this advert gets played and played and played, and it's like that's just Terry to a T. It's just happened. It just happens overnight. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just seemed to happen to overnight type thing.
No, it's brilliant. Well, 2020 was a tough year for 2021's proving it. But a lot of people were out of work. The boxing shows were very few and far between. But yourself, you managed to get on quite a few shows. MTK, you was there for another one of Steffi's fighters, Maxie Hughes. To get the victory over John O'Carroll. How far do you think Maxie can go?
Sky's the limit. Do you know what I mean? The thing is, if he realises now that, like we were saying, all that bit before in his career, the previous fights and stuff like that, were all to learn, and he's took every bit of that. He's served his apprentice, if you get me. I think he must have been a pro 10 years, Maxie. We're boxing on some shows. I were boxing when he was a baby. Now he's gained all that valuable experience, he can share the ring with the top dogs. Do you know what I mean? I mean, he's gone over to Dubai and beat the Kazakhstan kid. He's had the win over John O'Carroll, and he's using what knowledge he's gained in a long career now, and he's seen every trick in the book, if you get me. So it's starting now. It's really starting to show as he's coming to this stage of his career. So yeah, he can. There's some huge nights out there for him with the wins he's pulled off. He's only going to get bigger and better nights.
It's crazy though, isn't it? Like, considering I remember speaking to Maxie in Doncaster, and he was like, "Yeah, hopefully I should be going to Kazakhstan to fight, but that'll probably get cancelled, and I don't know if I'm going to have another fight this year. And then before you know it, he's fighting John O'Carroll, and then he's in Dubai at the end of the year, and then he gets MTK Fighter of the Year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what a year. What a year for him. Although it's been hard for some, it turned out to be his the best of his career.
It's like another fighter in Steffi's gym, Jason Cunningham. He's due. Hopefully, he's got a big fight coming up against. Is it in Iceland?
It were, but I don't know what's happening with that at the minute. It was supposed to have been for the version at European title. It was Finland, but
Finland, that's the one.
Things just change constantly all the time with this pandemic, and you've just got to stay motivated and keep thing. It's been hard for everyone. I mean, I've found it hard myself. Do you know what I mean? To motivate myself, it's a bit different. We're all adapting. None of us have ever been designed for these type of times. So I'm constantly trying to learn now as well how for me to adapt and keep myself involved in boxing in a sense where the fighters are improving. I lost a little bit of motivation myself. My dad passed away in September, and I needed time out myself. And I would obviously, as you can imagine, I were down. I were looking, and I'm looking left and I'm looking right, and nothing's happening in the world or whatever. But I've had to use whatever fuel I can, whatever type of motivation I can type to find to get myself back in a place where I'm back on top and in that gym with them fighters, because that fire is still in me to be successful as well. I want to be known as a successful trainer. I want to be going into them corners against all these top dogs and they're thinking, yeah, whatever, and pulling a win off, and everybody like going, hang on a minute, where have these come from? Where have these pulled this win from? How come they've upset this and how come they've upset that? Do you know what I mean? And that's why I sit, like I just said, just lately I feel like I've got a bit of a passion back, what I were probably missing due to losing my dad. And it takes time. It's just something you have to come to terms with. I've been staying back. I've been watching Stefy consistently all the time. I've been back studying everything I can. Mindsets, characters, everything, you name it, sport, whether it be sport or anything. I have been digging deep to try and find that motivation to get back, because I want to be back with them guys under them bright lights.
Between you and Stefy, you've probably said two of the most motivational speeches. You need to be taking Boris Johnson's position on number 10 Downing Street, the Perrier. But in all seriousness, sorry to hear about your dad, but I'm glad.
It's just life, mate.
The one thing I can tell you, Ray, is everybody who I spoke to is associated with you. Thinks of you very, very, very highly.
Yeah, that's much appreciated, mate.
That's the one thing I can say. And yes, I know we've got you on to talk about boxing, but I remember the last time we had a conversation in Doncaster. We talked about Man United for about 5 minutes, and at the time he was like, I don't know what's happening. Solskjaer this, Solskjaer that. The team's just no good. And look at them now. Where can they go?
Hopefully back to where Fergie had them. It's you know yourself, I'm a diehard Man United fan, and I'm just enjoying it while they're on top. It's been a long time before I've had that feeling for a bit. We used to it all the way through my childhood growing up, but just lately, all my friends who are Liverpool fans and that, I'm sat there and I'm thinking, oh no, I ain't coming second, or I ain't coming even fourth, fifth, whatever they've been coming. But yeah, and just going back to, like we said, we're studying characters. I mean, Alex Ferguson was someone who I just flabbergasted by. Do you know what I mean? It's like, to stay at the top so long, it takes summer, and you have to, like, you know, like pick the cogs or whatever. So I always read about Ferguson because I'm super impressed that he took a team to be so supreme for so long. What were his desire to keep them there? The man management skills, the little things like that. With me being a trainer, I have to try and look at them type of things. Do you know what I mean? If I want to improve, if you get me. So Ferguson was someone who I think, but yeah, I'm enjoying it, and I'm sure you're enjoying Villa's run.
It's the first time I actually look forward to watching us play on telly. Literally, like, but I think, like you said, I just think it's all to do with sticking to the process. Literally, if you're doing something, stick to it, because it might not work at the first time, but if you think it's right, like you said with your boxing stuff as well, if you think it's right, stick to the process. Look at Max Hughes, stuck to the process.
It's like it's Max, things like that. It's if you packed in or you quit every time someone doubted you, or every time something went wrong in your life or whatever, you have to find that inner belief. You have to believe in yourself when nobody else does, if you get me. And it's very similar with, like you said, such as Solskjaer. I'm sure that they want to be successful. Do you know what I mean? They're not enjoying it, are they? When they're walking away and everybody's trolling them or saying they're rubbish and this, that, and other. But they've got something in place, what they believe in, whether other people believe in it or not, because results aren't coming through. At some point, if he believes in himself that he's good enough and the things that he's doing are good enough, it's going to get him up there.
100%. It's like boxing trainers. You can have, no doubt, there's probably a few people when Terry fought Jonas saying, "What's Stefy doing? Terry shouldn't be fighting like this." Blah blah blah. That do with all boxing trainers. You can have Anthony Joshua. Nobody ever mentioned anything about Spencer McCracken. As soon as he lost to Andy Ruiz, it was like, he needs to change trainer. He needs to do this. Stick to the process, and it'll come.
The world's full of hate, isn't it? And it's unfortunate. But what you have to do is, maybe the world's full of hate for a reason. You have to take that hate and turn it into some form of fuel to make you who you are, if you get me, to get yourself up to the top, because you've got to use it as a motivational factor to be like, I'm going to show you type thing. I'm going to do it. That's the only thing that you can do. You've got to use the hate and transform it to make yourself better.
That's why Floyd Mayweather and all them, probably say footballers, was so good, because that many people hated him. They used to thrive off the hate and perform. America hate, I'll probably say, when you watch a Floyd Mayweather fight, how many people booed Floyd Mayweather?
He knew what he was doing, though, didn't he? And that's why, to me, he's in that tiny percentage bracket of elite what can stay at the top for so long, if you get me, because he didn't just sit there. He and fought and boxed. He's the best ever for me, because he understood the full package. He saw the business side of it. He saw everything. He thought, right, everyone loves to hate someone. So how am I going to generate something and create something from all this hate to make me a superstar? And because there were a time where nobody were tuning into Floyd, do you know what I mean? So he obviously went from pretty boy Floyd. He thought, right, I'm going to change it. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll throw millions of dollars up in air and everybody will hate me.
Yeah.
They'll hate, and they'll say, look at him. He thinks he's brash. He thinks he's this. But he was smart. He knew what he was doing. He was like, I'm going to conquer this business side, and I'm going to show you the business side, what I've picked up. He'd done his fighting. He's done his boxing. And obviously, he's very intelligent, because while ever he were boxing, he must have been picking away and soaking it up like a sponge, looking at the whole system around him, how the whole system works. And he were going to turn that into, obviously, when he come again, as Money Mayweather, you could see, whether you hated him or not, they were like tuning in for him to get his butt kicked, but they were hitting that button, and they were watching him, and they were paying the money, and they were putting all the money in his bank.
Best boxer I've ever seen, in my opinion. The only boxer I know, I believe he completed boxing. There was nothing in boxing he didn't do. People say that he wasn't aggressive enough, but the fight with Arturo Gatti is probably one of the best performances I've ever seen in a boxing ring. I'd say a better performance than that was Amir Khan versus Devin Alexander. I thought that was a masterclass by Khan.
Yeah, good fights, yeah.
I really do.
It was hard for me, that one, actually. I knew Mayweather were going to spank him, but I can't tell you how much of a Arturo Gatti fan I am. I never missed a fighter, is because there were just something about him. Obviously, you know, if you're talking entertainment, Gatti was unbelievable. What a warrior! I mean, he was just something else. He was in spectacular fights. I mean, HBO have made documentaries about his fights with Ward and everything. That is my all-time favourite fight, Gatti and Ward one.
You just beat me next question.
Is the best fight. I for some reason, if ever I think, I just click that button and watch Gatti and Ward. It's just unbelievul. It's my favourite.
How fit that both of them are, because that's what it's down to. Because when you get hurt, it's if you haven't trained or you haven't gone that extra yard. But the question is, how many extra yards did they actually go? Because there was times when they were out on the feet. Yeah.
So you had to give Gatti's trainer all the credit in the. We were talking about this in gym the other day, actually. The next fight, how we've just been talking about adapting and learning and how you're thinking. The next fight, Gatti didn't get involved in that fight with Ward. It was a completely different thing. It was boxing, if you get me. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't as, although the trilogy was as it was thing, but he did what he had to do to turn it around, if you get me. So he's the one who adapted. But I just think, I mean, even Mickey Ward, I mean, they made a movie about him. Do you know what I mean? It's that much of a. Is it humanly possible to take that amount of punishment and come back? They are the real life Rocky stories. Rocky don't even get close to them two warriors. Do you know what I mean? Because
because they're human beings, and it's
exactly. They are that is. A movie is a movie, but they are.
Yeah, that they've actually lived it. Right, just before we go, all your fighters out there, what's your message for them to stay? I know they're coming to the gym, but I bet it's hard for you to keep someone motivated without a fight date in place, if you know what I mean. So what's your motivational message for them? Well, not motivational message. What's your message to them?
You just can't give up. You can't give up. Although the whole world is in panic at the minute, what are we going to do? Are we going to sit there and accept it? Because if we just sit there and accept it like we're accepting it now, then we may as well just give up. And I know you have to respect everybody else because there's a pandemic, but while ever these fighters are allowed to train, they have to have that belief that this is what they do. This is what they're trained to do the whole life. Stay in there, keep believing and keep motivating yourself. You've got no other choice, because if you sit there at home, what else are you doing? Think yourself lucky. You've got a gym to go to. You have got to turn it around. You cannot give up. You have got to get up every day, even if it makes you feel uncomfortable because you've got no fights, even if you're feeling down, because I can guarantee you, once you've blasted punch bag or once you've blasted pads, you're going to feel better, and then your mind's going to be clearer, and you're going to be thinking stronger, and you're going to be making more positive decisions about yourself, positive decisions about your food you're eating and stuff like that. You've got no other choice. You've just got to get in the gym, and you've got to keep training. You can't give up.
Okay, superb. I'll be at the gym tomorrow.
Get yourself in the gym, Mark. That's it.
Right. It's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you very much. We'll chat to you every month or so. Just keep in touch with yourself, pal. So thank you.
No problem, mate. Take care, pal.
Cheers,
See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.